All right, everybody, welcome to Fueling for Performance. Thanks so much for being here today. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Megan, the nutrition coach here at Dun Dun. If you're here live, go ahead and drop your answer to the following question. What are some of your performance goals that you're looking to improve? So whether that is your strength, stamina, endurance, speed, what is it specifically that you are working on? And while you're doing that, today I just want to discuss the top 3 tips to help you with fueling for performance. So before we dive into today's content, I do want to make a disclaimer. If you have a competition coming up this weekend, I'm looking at you, DECA athletes, change nothing, okay? No matter what you hear today, if something sounds like a good idea and you haven't been doing that before, please don't work on this tomorrow or incorporate anything new into your strategy, okay? Take what you learned today and incorporate that into your next training cycle. We don't ever want to change anything or introduce something new on race day. So again, because I know people are just logging in here, if you have something coming up this weekend, please don't change a thing. Keep everything the way that it's been working for you. And if you're going to start incorporating anything new, do that over your next training cycle. That way you can test and experiment what does and does not work during your training. And you can make adjustments for race day during your training, okay? Hello. Here we go. All right, so at Dun Dun, we've partnered with Healthy Steps Nutrition to support our clients using a framework that's guided, tested, and proven. We believe something as fundamental as nutrition should not be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple habit-based approach. We know that helping you become the healthiest version of yourself isn't just about what you eat or what you do in the gym a few hours a week, right? So that's why we focus on this holistic approach that focuses on, of course, nutrition, but also sleep, stress management, mindset, support system, and lifestyle. All right, so let's dive into today's topic. Fueling for performance is crucial for everyday athletes. So whether you are competing in these DECA events that we host all the time, or formal races, things like that. I know we have a lot of athletes that are running or runners. Whether you are competing in those type of events, or you're an everyday athlete, meaning you're just coming to the gym, not just, I don't mean to say it like that. You're coming into the gym several days a week, you're lifting, you're doing all the things, right? You are an everyday athlete. So your fueling strategy is just as important as someone who is training for a very specific event. So fueling for performance provides the necessary energy to power your workouts, improve your endurance, and aid in muscle recovery. So if you've ever been in a workout and realized quickly you don't have enough gas in the tank, right? All of a sudden time is moving backwards. You're not able to lift something that you were able to lift maybe last week or the last time you did this workout. Odds are we can attribute that to your fueling strategy or maybe your recovery strategy, right? But today we're here to talk about your fuel. So let's talk about energy, recovery, hydration, and ultimately the function that fuel provides in performance for your workouts. First, we're going to talk about energy. So proper nutrition provides the fuel your body needs to perform at its peak during exercise. And we know that carbohydrates are the primary energy source for muscles. Consuming carbohydrates before, during, and after prolonged exercise can maintain blood sugar levels, delay fatigue, and improve your endurance. So when we talk about this, people want to know like what types of carbs are the best for energy, right? So we want to focus on simple carbohydrates, things like fruits, unsweetened applesauce packets, those like go squeezes that you get for the kids. And even sports drinks usually will have a carbohydrate source as well. And then more complex carbs, such as things like oatmeal, rice, potatoes, beans, legumes, all of those sorts of things. So by understanding how carbs fuel your body, you can more effectively tailor your nutrition to match your workout demands, leading up to better performance and quicker recovery and overall improved fitness outcomes. And we'll dive a little bit more into carbohydrates specifically here in a little bit. Next up, we have recovery. So first up in recovery is muscle repair and growth, which leads to protein's essential role in building and repairing muscle tissue after workouts, energy replenishment, and restoring hormone balance. So I know I've talked about this before, but in Dr. Gabrielle Lyon's book, Forever Strong, she discusses the importance of protein not only for longevity of health, but also for keeping you stronger. Recovery helps prevent injury and reduce stress, increase motivation and focus, and improve performance and speed. Recovery is an essential component of any successful training or performance plan. So prioritizing your recovery is an investment in your long-term health, well-being, and of course, performance. A well-balanced diet with a whole foods focus, rest, stress management, and hydration are a few key recovery strategies. Speaking of hydration, we know that this also plays a vital role in the importance of fueling for activities. Dehydration can negatively impact your workout by up to 20%. So water and electrolytes are fundamental for maintaining fluid balance and preventing dehydration, which can significantly impact performance. We want to make sure we're drinking plenty of fluids throughout the day, especially in the hours before and during exercise. We want to replace electrolytes lost through sweat, especially during intense or prolonged workouts, especially in the summertime. But this is important all year long. So just because it's not 95 degrees out right now does not mean that you don't need to be focused on replacing those electrolytes, okay? Believe it or not, adequate nutrition supports brain function, improving your focus, concentration, and reaction time during exercise. Certain nutrients play a crucial role in the production of neurotransmitters, which are chemical messengers that transmit signals between brain cells. Adequate intake of these nutrients supports optimal brain function and cognitive performance. While this can be an easily overlooked importance of fueling, it's critical to note due to many sports requiring technique and skill in executing performances. Again, I'm thinking about DECA, Spartan, obstacle course races, all of those types of things where you need to be a little bit more nimble, you need to be aware of your surroundings, you don't want to trip and fall, right? All of those types of things. Fueling can actually have a big impact on your cognitive function. So now that you know why fueling is important, let's address the impact of poor fueling. Not only can undereating lead to fatigue, muscle weakness, and decreased endurance, but also underperforming. It can also lead to injury, right? So according to research in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, athletes who fail to meet their protein needs are at a higher risk of injury, particularly during high intensity training or long duration activities. Protein helps repair damaged muscle fibers and build new ones. So without sufficient protein, muscles weaken over time, making them more prone to injury. Dehydration and electrolyte imbalances can also increase the risk of muscle cramps and other injuries. Not only can insufficient protein intake can hinder muscle repair and growth, injury prevention, but it can also impair recovery time, which is essential if there's an event or competition on the horizon. And then last but not least, your mood, energy levels, and overall well-being can also be affected by poor nutrition, both in athletic performance and in daily life. So let's dive into the 3 tips you can start implementing to ensure you don't fall victim to the side effects of poor fueling. Number 1, carb loading. So for everyday athletes who primarily participate in shorter workouts or less intense activities, a balanced meal 2 to 4 hours before exercise is generally sufficient. Think your typical workouts here in the gym, okay? Consuming adequate carbohydrates in the days before a workout or competition helps replenish glycogen stores in muscles, which is particularly important for endurance athletes. Think those longer sessions like the DECA Mile, DECA Fit, High Rocks, 10Ks, half marathons, those types of things. Studies have shown that carbohydrate loading can significantly improve endurance performance in activities lasting longer than 90 minutes. Carbohydrate intake for exercise performance is really important and crucial. It's likely that even if you're not afraid to eat carbs, right, carbs are a regular part of your diet, it could be the case that you might need to increase your portion size during certain times. And we'll talk about portions here later on. Glycogen is the storage form of the carbohydrates that we eat. So glycogen can be found mostly in the liver and muscle tissue. In fact, glycogen accounts for about 6% of our liver's total weight and only about 1 to 2% of other muscle tissue. The actual amount of glycogen storage a person has depends on factors such as how much you exercise and how much skeletal muscle mass you also have on your body. The glycogen stored in muscles is primarily used to fuel the muscle tissue, while the glycogen in the liver is distributed throughout your body when you need it. When someone uses up those glycogen stores, they experience fatigue, which can also be described as hitting the wall. So again, if you've done a long endurance workout and you've hit that wall before, this can be contributing to that. So how can you avoid early fatigue, right? Again, in those longer endurance events, we want to avoid hitting that wall for as long as possible. And this is where carb loading really comes into play for your workouts. So carb loading is a strategy often used by endurance athletes where you increase your carb intake in the days leading up to an event. The idea is to saturate your muscles with glycogen so that you can perform at your best during long events. This involves eating more carbohydrates in the 3 to 7 days before the event while reducing exercise intensity. So this can be a little bit counterintuitive because you're tapering your activity in preparation for your event, right? So you're not as active, your workouts are not as hard or as long maybe, but you're increasing your carbohydrate intake in preparation for the event as well. So it's a little counterintuitive. As I mentioned on the previous slide, athletes can benefit from having a meal before the workout, which leads us to tip number 2, which is your pre-workout meal. So what if you're not an endurance athlete, or maybe you are and you're regularly doing some cross training or working out just for life? This is where the pre-workout meal comes into play. So we want to focus on having a balanced meal about 2 to 4 hours before exercise to provide sustained energy. We want to focus on including a combination of carbohydrates and protein and keep fats and fiber low to avoid digestive issues during exercise. Eating carbohydrates 1 to 3 hours before a workout can help ensure you have readily available glycogen for energy. I hope you're starting to see how some of these pieces are coming together. Some examples include oatmeal with a banana, protein powder, nuts with chicken with a sweet potato, or green beans, or a smoothie with fruit, yogurt, and protein powder. And while some of these examples do contain fiber, they are relatively low in fats, which take the longest to digest of any macronutrient. If you are, coming to the gym early in the morning and you're like, I'm not eating a full meal before I come to the gym, I would at least recommend having an apple or something, maybe some grapes, a smaller portion of fruit to get those glycogen stores going for you. If you struggle with feeling nauseated if you eat before, try something more like a liquid source. So again, like those applesauce packets, some of the pre-workout or electrolyte drinks have the glycogen that you need. Or like I said, just like a small piece of fruit or something. But liquid sources are going to be easier for your body to digest and utilize for energy. So here are some additional tips to prevent nausea and ensure you are adequately fueled. So again, opt for smaller meals or snacks that are easier to digest. You can try eating 90 to 120 minutes beforehand instead of just the recommended 30 to 60. Of course, we want to avoid dairy, especially if you're someone who is sensitive to dairy. Obviously, we want to avoid anything spicy. So sometimes people have like a beef jerky stick or something like that. Sometimes those have a little bit of a kick to them. So we want to make sure that we're mindful of that. And then last but not least, sometimes nausea actually results from dehydration. So drinking water or electrolyte-rich drinks like coconut water can also help prevent some of this discomfort. Okay, tip number 3 is hydration. So again, we want you to drink plenty of fluids throughout the day, especially in the hours before and during exercise. So how much water should you consume before and during your workouts? Pre-exercise, we want you to focus on having at least 16 to 20 ounces of water 2 to 3 hours before the activity. Aim to drink at least 8 ounces of water 30 minutes to an hour before your workout. And then during exercise, aim for 8 to 10 ounces of water every 10 to 20 minutes. This can be a lot, so we want to make sure that we're experimenting with this again. And then post-exercise, we want you to rehydrate with water or a sports drink that does contain electrolytes, and we want you to aim for about 16 to 24 ounces for every pound lost during exercise. So I don't know if you've ever weighed yourself before and after exercise, but you can actually lose a lot of water weight during a very intense workout. So that can be something to experiment with as well, so that you make sure that you are drinking enough to replenish that. Again, if you sweat a lot, it's a good idea to replace with electrolytes lost through sweat, especially during intense or prolonged workouts. And again, especially during the summertime. Sodium, potassium, and magnesium especially help maintain fluid balance and muscle function and prevent cramps during long or intense workouts. So the importance of proper hydration. It helps support muscle function, energy production, and endurance. Water helps regulate your body temperature during exercise, which does prevent with overheating, which again, a lot of us aren't keeping that top of mind right now because it is so cold, but it is important, not just during the summer months. And did you know that hydrated cells can better absorb and transport nutrients like glucose and electrolytes for energy? So this can help with blood sugar regulation, digestion, nutrient absorption, and increased recovery, right? So we're making sure we're getting our body all the nutrients that it needs. And if we're hydrated, we can actually move those nutrients to the places in our body that need it most. When considering performance and recovery, even a mild dehydration of 1 to 2% body weight loss can impair strength, endurance, and cognitive function, which can unfortunately lead to muscle cramps, dizziness, and fatigue. Lastly, make sure you skip the alcohol. Alcohol is a diuretic. It causes your body to lose more fluids than it takes in, which can obviously lead to dehydration. If you must drink alcohol, be sure to follow these tips. We're obviously going to want you to drink water before, during, and after consuming alcohol to try and counteract some of those dehydrating effects. And if you are drinking alcohol with the knowledge that you'll be working out the next day, be sure to replenish with electrolytes such as coconut water to restore balance and prevent muscle cramps or fatigue. By being proactive about hydration, you can really minimize the negative impact alcohol has on your body and feel better the next day. So generally, avoid it, but if you must, please do make sure that you rehydrate. Okay, many of you have seen the Plate It method that we promote here at Dun Dun. This is the athlete plate method. So it's adjusted slightly to meet the demands of an athlete. Remember, the individual needs vary based on activity level, intensity, and duration. So again, experimenting and finding a fueling strategy that works best for you is really going to be essential. You may consider working with one of us here at Dun Dun as a coach as you kind of tweak things and move things around. But essentially, with this plate, you can create balance working on fuel-free activities. We want you to focus on eating whole foods first and reduce processed foods. So basically, how this works is you want to have a third of your plate of non-starchy veggies, a third of your plate with starchy carbs, and then a third of your plate of lean protein. We do want you to include fats, but just please be mindful of the portions. And again, having mostly whole foods will provide you with more vitamins and minerals, more of those micronutrients that we need, and fiber to improve overall energy and recovery. So as we wrap up, here are a few things to note. Fueling for performance does take attention to detail and some timing, but once you've nailed down the basics, you'll really have a solid foundation to enhance your performance. Keep these tips in mind as you get started. So number one, don't leave out your essential carbohydrates. Plan your pre-workout meals. Hydration is key. And when in doubt, use the plate method to fuel up. How does sleep affect my performance? Sleep obviously plays a big role in many aspects of our health and wellness goals. And when we sleep, our body, including our brain, is at rest. This allows for increased blood flow and nutrients to the muscle tissue for repair and growth. It impacts muscle recovery, energy levels, cognitive function, and mental resilience, all crucial for peak performance. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of daily sleep for optimal recovery and performance. So athletes need more sleep and recovery. So if you are only getting 4, 5, 6 hours, even if you're barely getting 7 hours, I encourage you to please try and increase the duration of sleep that you're getting. How do I know if I'm eating enough for my performance needs? This is where we really need to listen to our body, right? If you're feeling fatigued, weak, unable to perform at your usual level, those are all signs that your fueling strategy might need some adjustments. Key signs of inadequate fueling include, again, tiredness and fatigue during your workouts, delayed recovery. So maybe your muscles are more sore than normal or sore for longer than normal. Your cravings are up, so craving high foods that are high in carbohydrates after your workouts, especially like for me, I know if I find myself in the pantry like a squirrel before dinner, that is a key for me that I have underfueled myself for the day. If you're having trouble sleeping, we can go back to your fueling strategy. And again, please consider working with one of us here at Dun if you are listening to some of this and thinking, yes, that's me. Oh, yes, that's me too. We can help you kind of tweak these things and help you learn to listen to your body, right? Because it gets easy for us to kind of ignore these signals or just to kind of try and push through them. Working with a coach can help bring these things to light. Now that we've talked about fuel for performance, let's focus on the 3 core principles our nutrition coaching program is built on. So first and foremost, we obviously want to focus on whole foods first. Number 2, we focus on a balance of macronutrients. So again, making sure we're getting plenty of proteins, carbs, and fats, and then tweaking them to make sure that we're getting the appropriate amount of each based on our needs. And then last, but certainly not least, limiting the amount of processed sugar and carbohydrates. So as we wrap up, I'd love for you to take a minute or two to reflect on everything that we went over today. I know it was a lot that I kind of threw at you, but which tips stood out the most to you? Go ahead, you can unmute, you can send them in the chat. I see a lot of people are looking at improving strength and stamina goals, strength and endurance. There's a question here. If I work out at 5 a.m., should I be trying to fuel before these workouts? I normally come to the gym on an empty stomach, but immediately after fuel with protein. That's a great question. And I feel you on that, because are you really supposed to get up an hour and a half earlier to get some food into your system before your workout? Again, I would go back to having that small, again, like a handful of grapes or something very small, just to get those glycogen stores moving, and then still having that, whatever you normally have after your workout. I should be eating something before morning workouts. Yes. That for me has made the biggest difference in the last, I would say, 6 months or so. When I work out in the morning, I'm not a big breakfast person. That's something I'm working on just generally. But I have noticed if I have a handful of something quick, something very easily digestible, at least in the car on the way to the gym, even, that's still not perfect, like 30 minutes before, my workouts have been significantly better, just for what it's worth. And yep, another one for fueling before workout. So it sounds like that's kind of the common theme here, is everybody's wanting to make sure that they are fueling before their workouts, even if it's a morning workout. I know we've got a lot of early risers in here. You're already getting yourself up and out of bed. You're already trying to make sure you're getting enough sleep. So again, think of some things that you can have that are quick, easy to digest, and mostly just carbs. Missy is recommending added 10 to 15 grams of protein to that pre-workout meal. So, yep. Missy, what would you suggest for that 10 to 15 grams? Like, what would you suggest is the best thing to add?
Something that's going to be easily digestible. Yogurt, if you can tolerate that. Portion of your protein shake, if you drink one of those in the morning, even a couple sips of that will get you started. Majority of you guys already struggle with getting protein in throughout the day.
Yes,
And the
we do.
research is saying 15 grams pre-workout.
Yeah, so that's a great idea. If you're already someone that's having a protein shake, having, half of it before your workout and the rest afterwards, just to get things started for you. Again, I cannot stress this enough. Do not try anything new tomorrow for competition. We are going to take what we learned today and implement during our next training phase for our next competition. Okay, nothing new tomorrow, please. Awesome. And of course, you recognize some of these faces from the gym. These are some of our favorite athletes, not all of them, of course. And if you liked what you heard today and you're interested in learning more, or you want help kind of tweaking what you're currently doing, we are offering a 4-week nutrition tune-up. I'll leave it up here on the screen. You're welcome to take a picture of the QR code. It is also on the handout in the workbook. So if you can't get it right now, or if it's not working, it is also in the handout. But this is for $169. It is a 4-week coaching situation. It includes a goal setting session, weekly coaching appointments, and then also 2 PsyQ scans. So we'll be taking that PsyQ, getting those measurements to see, even if our weight is staying the same, sometimes our body fat is going down while our muscle mass is going up, even if the scale is not doing what we think it should be doing. So that's really good data to have as well. So other than that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but if anybody has any questions or wants to chat a little bit more, I can hang out here for just a few minutes. We have a question about electrolytes. How much should I be drinking for long runs in the future? So Beth, I would definitely, and for anybody else who runs, especially for those long runs, for example, if I'm running a shorter run, like 30 minutes or less, I don't bring water. I'll drink before I leave, and then I'll drink when I get back. The recommendation today was to drink some water every like 10 to 20 minutes, water or electrolytes. That can be a lot for some people, especially if you're running and it's more endurance based. So I would definitely play with that. But the idea is to replace the amount of pounds that you've lost, right? So if you lose, let's say 3 pounds of water while you're running, you want to make sure that you're drinking at least that much, right? So 16 ounces is a pound of water. So you be wanting to drink 3 16-ounce things of water combined, during your workout and afterwards. So you'll just have to kind of play with that and see what your body can tolerate. Good. Yeah, Missy's recommending 30 minutes, especially for half marathon plus distances.
And that'll increase if you're in the heat. So you're going to have to take in more. Even if you're just taking in the electrolytes and smaller portions of water.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to run with sloshy things.
And Missy, do you know I don't use them, so I don't know those like goo packets that people use. I know they're a good source of like carbohydrates. Are they also a good source of electrolytes?
Yes, they are. And some of them have caffeine. What's the brand you use, Stacy, off the top of your head? Is it the Goo brand?
Yeah.
The actual Goo brand. She even uses those before DECA events. Because that's something
Mm.
else that's easily digestible. It's just a simple carb, and it has electrolytes in there and a small portion of caffeine.
Yeah.
So for those long distance runs, if you want something that's going to help get you through with 50 milligrams of caffeine, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah. I don't use the goo or the blocks. I need to experiment with either of them.
Yeah, Shane uses the cramp crushers, which is another one that has a lot of electrolytes in there,
Yeah.
and they're like a gummy too.
Shane, you gave something to my Katie at Deco World. Was it Fit Dad? What was that?
It was the cramp crushers and then another gel as well. I
Okay.
can't remember what it's called right now.
Yeah, Stacy uses the honey stinger ones as well, the cramp
Mhm.
crushers. Yeah, I think they taste yummy.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.